hear people talk about journaling, I always wondered, why would people take time out of their lives to write about their lives? It didn't make any sense to me. It wasn't until I took more classes here at Brown when I discovered a trend. That a lot of the most successful people, the people who changed the world, the people who have lived happy lives, kept a journal. Let's see some examples. Let's see some examples. First, Mark Twain. Next, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Another, Che Guevara. These three men are only three of many people who have lived very successful, happy lives. So as a young, ambitious Brown student back then, I thought to myself, what's the difference between these three men and me? The journal. That's it. And of course, that delusion was a blessing in disguise, because although journaling did not bring me worldwide success yet, but it brought me to happiness. So now I'm very happy, actually, by the way. And even if I'm faced with a lot of the challenges, big or small, for example, I have 2 midterm exams on Monday, which I should be studying for. But instead, I'm spending my time here talking about how happy I am, because I am very happy. But for you to see how much it impacted my life, I'm going to talk a little bit about my life. So who here has been to the Philippines? So as you might know, there's a lot of provinces in the Philippines outside Manila, and I come from one of those. Growing up from Davao, we didn't have a lot of opportunities. It was outside the city, and there was just absolute poverty everywhere, you can see. And it wasn't as interconnected as the rest of the world is. So if you think that Manila isn't as interconnected, think about Davao. But what's important about my life story is that of my parents. I am the eldest son of 4, and my parents, my dad is an overseas Filipino worker, so he works abroad for 10 months a year working at cargo ships. Meanwhile, my mom stays at home to take care of us. And the thing that impacted me the most was that my parents fought all the time. As a young kid, I grew up them fighting. They barely see each other. They would fight over the phone. When they see each other, even after they see each other, they would fight all the time. But to cut the long, painful story short, essentially I grew up amidst utter domestic violence. I grew up with constant financial struggles. I grew up in an area where there didn't have a lot of opportunity. I didn't have any mentors. And I was heavily discriminated because I'm gay. And if you know anything about living in the province in the Philippines and being gay, it's not very good. So I made a decision. I wanted to become something bigger than myself. So I told myself, I'm going to use my anger and hurt to transform myself into a bird, to fly far, far away. I wasn't the best student in my school, but I used my anger and hurt to push myself up, to become a bird and fly far, far away. By 10th grade, I became the top student in my class. And after 10th grade, I was one of 2 Filipinos chosen all over the country for an international scholarship, which made me finish high school at an international school in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, I used my anger and hurt to rise up and become a bird to fly far, far away. I got into Brown on full financial aid, despite Brown's deed-aware international admissions policy. And here at Brown, it's when I realized that I can go on living like this. I can go on chasing success out of anger and out of hurt. Because here, I'm surrounded with people with happy families and and they achieved success effortlessly because they had a family to support them. And thank God I found journaling. Journaling has changed my life in ways that I could have never imagined, and I am happier than ever. Day by day, month by month, year by year, I become less and less angry, less and less hurt, and more happy. And the awesome thing about being happy is that you grab more success the more you become happy. So suddenly my grades started to become higher. I started excelling at my student jobs and extracurriculars. I started creating meaningful relationships with friends and professors. And I got to do awesome things like study abroad in Barcelona and do a TED Talk like this. And in fact, even more success that even last week I got my dream job offer. And so that's what happiness does. But my point is, you don't have to be perfect to be perfectly happy. And as I shared my life story to all of you, I didn't have the perfect life, but I definitely made the most out of it. And I think that journaling can work for you. If it did for me, it will certainly work for you. So last semester I took a class, this amazing class called Persuasive Communication, taught by the amazing Professor Barbara Tannebaum. And she recommended a book, Self-Esteem, by Dr. McKay and Patrick Fanning. And the book talks about this inner self-critic, that voice in each one of us that tells us that we have failed, that we have shortcomings, and that never once told us that we have achieved and done our best. And this is exactly what journaling is trying to fight against. That by journaling, we ourselves compile all the good stuff that happened in our lives so that we accumulate so much positivity that it eats out the negativity. And suddenly we'll be overflowing with happiness. It's a simple formula, right? It worked for me. It definitely worked for other people too. In a research published by The Guardian, in a psych research, that participants wrote about their emotions. And they found that writing about your feelings can help the brain overcome emotion, upsets, and leave you feeling happier. In another study by the Southern Methodist University, participants wrote about their life goals and their BPS, their best possible selves. And they found out that after the exercise over time, that participants became more optimistic, happier, and less emotionally unstable. So if it worked for me and for research, here you go, then it could definitely work for you. So what do you write about, Julmar, when you journal? You can write about feelings, like the research published by The Guardian, goals, like the research published by the Southern Methodist University, or memories. Research shows that people tend to be happier if they participate in experiences rather than attain material goods. Like us millennials, we aspire to travel, to go to concerts, to go to spring weekend and have these wonderful experiences because that's worth more than materials. And so why wouldn't you want to preserve that feeling of happiness, right? Because these things, feelings, goals, and memories are fleeting. And a journal is a way to preserve that. So Julmar, how do you effectively journal? So now you can take your notes or whatever to take on some tips on how to effectively journal. First, buy a nice notebook. I want to say in advance that I don't work for Moleskine or I'm not a campus ambassador for Staples, but I urge you to buy a premium notebook because these journals are the keepers of our ideas, feelings, and memories. And those things are pieces of us. and we need to preserve them in something that is durable and that can last a long time. And also, it just inspires me if I have a nice notebook. I paid for this. I need to make the most out of it. Next, remember that you don't have to write a lot. In fact, it's growing popular now to have one-sentence journals. And although I urge you to write more, it's very important to keep in mind that writing a journal is up to your own pace. And that it's important for us to take time out of our lives to reflect about the good stuff that happens in us. Also, no computers. Computers distract you. And if you're like me, who likes to journal before I go to bed, it ruins the quality of your sleep. So no computers. And who here has social media? Facebook, Instagram, raise your hand. We all do. And the most shared things on social media are quotations, whether it's by Shonda Rhimes or by your favorite author or by Oprah, anything. Reflect on the quotations in your journal, because these are amazing ways for you to discover your passions, what you value, what interests you. And be self-aware, not self-critical. Like I said earlier, we already have a built-in system to put ourselves down. So let's use this journal to build ourselves up. Just focus on the good things and relish in it. And I think last, but the most important one, is be honest. Think of your journals as your ever-supported friend. No matter what you say, no matter what you think, no matter how you feel, it doesn't matter, because your journal is on your side. No matter how close we are to our best friends or to our parents, there are just some things that we cannot fully say. And the journal is there for us in those moments. And by taking all of this into account, we accumulate positivity in our lives. So we build up so much positivity that it eats up the negativity and leaves us overflowing with happiness. And hopefully by journaling, we find our edge, the theme of this year's TEDxBrownU. We explore our individual human experiences, we discover our passion, we grow as mature human beings, and we engage in life optimistically. By finding our edge, we find happiness. Journal your way to happiness.